Thank you for joining us here tonight on Halton News. It's Tuesday, April 21st, and I'm Jessica Kading. The region is now reporting that to date there have been 386 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 57 probable cases for a total of 443 combined cases. They released their latest surveillance report last night, which shows a breakdown in cases by municipality. As you can see, Oakville has the highest total number of confirmed cases, followed by Halton Hills, the town of Milton, and then Burlington. Of those reported cases, 57 of them were severe enough to warrant hospitalization. Of those, there are currently 29 COVID-19 patients in hospitals. 188 people have fully recovered, and unfortunately, 16 Halton residents have died as a result of this virus to date. The region also released a look at our curve here in Halton so far. In green, you can see the confirmed cases, and orange represents probable cases. The hope is that we've reached the peak here in Halton as the province predicts, and we'll start to come down the other side of the curve soon, but only time will tell, and we're told strict adherence to the social distancing measures is how we will reduce the spread and get to the other side of this curve quicker. The federal and provincial governments must still prepare for additional cases and potential for cases to spike. I spoke with Oakville MP Anita Anand, who's the Federal Minister of Public Services and Procurement, for an update on the supply of personal protective equipment.
The global demand is high, and we are operating in a hyper-competitive environment. And what that has meant is that there are multiple supply chains operating at the same time, internationally and domestically. Our domestic production is increasing. We have a number of contracts with domestic suppliers that are proceeding. So, for example, we have hand sanitizer coming out of Fluid Energy and Irving Oil from Stanfields. We have locally here in the GTA, Mariner Endosurgery was a company that we identified on our buy and sell website operating out of Hamilton that is also stepping up to the plate. So it is an Team Canada effort, and really what has changed is the level of engagement internationally with the supply chains that we are utilizing.
Now, with the announcement that we might be in the peak now, does that change anything in terms of the amount of personal protective equipment that we might need?
What a great question. From our perspective, we moved to an aggressive procurement strategy early on. That meant that we were purchasing personal protective equipment on behalf of the provinces who had given their request to the Public Health Agency of Canada, but that we were going above and beyond aggressively in the international and domestic marketplace. In terms of whether we are changing our strategy, not at all. We are continuing to be aggressive in the market for PPE. And the reason is clear, that the pandemic is unpredictable. Although people are remarking that we have reached the height of the surge, one can never know. And so our procurement strategy is not letting up. We know that the virus affects different regions differently. We've seen that already in different Canadian provinces. And so we are full steam ahead, continuing with aggressive procurement.
Burlington's council meeting lasted a whopping 8.5 hours yesterday, marking a new record for the city. It was incredibly productive, however, as they needed to fit in 2 committee cycles, having missed one due to COVID-19, and there was plenty to discuss revolving around COVID-19, including the financial implications. I asked Mayor Marianne Mead-Ward to comment on the city's financial health.
Yesterday at council, we got a 3-month forecast of our financial picture, and of course, we are seeing a revenue hit to the city for a couple of reasons. Our biggest is transit, to keep drivers safe and avoid drivers and passengers coming within 6 feet of each other, and certainly the fare exchange. We've asked people to board from the back of the bus, which means we can't collect fares. So transit has been free for the past month in Burlington as well as other municipalities for the safety of passengers and drivers. We also made our parking downtown free. And so that, in addition to the revenue that we lost, we had to cancel all of our recreational programming for the spring season, of course. That alone was $2.7 million loss because our facilities are not open. So staff analyzed what is the revenue loss that we've experienced and we can predict to the end of June because of COVID-19. It's about a little over $7 million. However, we also have a lot of savings. So we've saved money on, obviously, on heating at those facilities. We've saved money because we did lay off the staff that were the part-time staff that were delivering those programs. That was a 2.5 roughly $1 million savings. We've reduced our transit service just because there's fewer people out and about. So we've had, add up all the savings that we've had, it's about a $2 million difference. Now, we also have, I'll call them the rainy day funds. We have reserves set aside for fluctuations that are unexpected. And so COVID-19 is our rainy day. It is our big, long rainy day. And so there are reserves that are specifically set aside for this purpose to account for unpredictable fluctuations in revenue and expenses. So when we look at that, the net shortfall at the end of all that is $200,000 till the end of June. It's very, very reasonable. We can absorb that without taxing, obviously, or going into debt. So our financial picture for the next 3 months is really healthy, especially compared to what we've heard from some other municipalities, and that's because we've taken steps to cut costs and because we prudently plan and set aside money in our reserves to account for that. So we're in a good picture, but if this keeps going, till the fall, till the end of the year, we don't know. Our staff are going to come back in May and give us what they call the worst case scenario, which is we're in shutdown till the end of the year. What does that look like? A medium sort of case scenario where we're shut down through the summer till September, and sort of our best case is July 1st, we're out $200,000. So that was a really important piece of information for the community and for the city to have.
I also spoke with Burlington's mayor about a new $250 fine you should be aware of that was approved yesterday. It will be issued to people parking their cars illegally in lots that have been closed due to COVID-19.
And one of the unfortunate things that we had to do is close all of the parking lots related to parks because people were coming from other neighborhoods, driving around different parks, and then it was creating crowding, especially at Spencer Smith Park, especially at Beachway, some of those regional, more destination parks. And Conservation Halton was seeing the same thing. The province, of course, under the emergency, closed all of their provincial parks. That includes our closest one, which is Bronte Creek. But people were still at conservation parks, especially Mount Nemo and other places, parking on the shoulder of the road, very dangerous, parking and jumping the fence. And so, Conservation Halton had no ability to ticket these cars. So we were sending our bylaw. We closed our parking lots, but people were still coming, driving over concrete barriers to park illegally in our parks. And so we felt, unfortunately, for those very few, simple signage and message and barricades were not enough. Unfortunately for them, they need a stronger message sent to them. So we have, yesterday we approved an increase to fines. It'll be a $250 ticket. Now, if you park on the side of a road, if you cross one of our barricades, you shouldn't be, and this is COVID related. So it's if an area is closed and signed as closed, you can incur the $250 fine. Really, we shouldn't have to issue any tickets. We're just hoping people do the right thing, but there's a few that refuse to do that.
Halton police were busy over the weekend as the COVID-19 hotline was certainly put to use. Many residents have called in with complaints and general COVID-19 related questions. We reached out to Media Relations Officer Constable Ryan Anderson for the latest update.
I think overall the residents of Halton are doing an excellent job. These are pretty extraordinary measures we've asked as a government and as a police service enforcing the new rules, these are pretty, extreme measures we've asked people to undertake by staying home and leaving the home only for the essentials and closing non-essential shops. And I think overall, the residents of Halton have really responded well. Having said that, there have been some times where we have been contacted, and I know you were asking for some numbers. So over the weekend, we were contacted about approximately 220 times. So we responded to 220 complaints. Now that doesn't mean that they were all violations, but we collected about 220 calls that we responded to. I think a lot of people are confused and looking for some clarification on some rules, and the vast majority of these calls are resulting in just some education. Having said that, there were a couple fines issued. And we are working. I want to stress this. We're working in partnership with all of the bylaw officers in Halton. This is not just a police matter. This is, in fact, I would say the majority or bulk of the calls have actually been handled by bylaw officers in Oakville, Burlington, Halton Hills, and Milton as well. But yeah, the people are wondering from, can I go for a drive in my car, to, can I take my kid on a bike ride? Can I go to the parks? A lot of people are, confused about what they can and can't do. And we're certainly welcoming those calls. We'd rather someone seek clarification than go do something that they shouldn't be doing.
In the city of Burlington, bylaw has not issued any tickets related to COVID-19 over the weekend, but in the month of April, the Building and Bylaw Department addressed over 1,200 complaints with the primary goal of educating the public. As a reminder, it is Earth Week, and while the COVID-19 pandemic has been wreaking havoc in every area of our lives, I asked Lisa Kohler if there's been any notable improvements to the environment as a result of us all consuming less and creating less pollution.
Thank you, Jessica, for the question. Air quality has definitely seen improvements locally for the community of Halton. Just going outside for sure. I think the majority of the public can see those benefits day to day. So that is the great news that we can share. Moving forward, we do have to be careful. Climate action is still required in our community. Every community in Halton has declared a climate emergency. And unfortunately, this dip in pollution and greenhouse gas emissions really won't collectively make that much of an impact. So we do want to preface that by saying there still is a lot of work that we have to do in community. There is still a lot of challenges, but a short-term benefit, if we can say there is one at all, has been air quality for sure.
Tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and the Halton Environmental Network invites you to join them virtually to celebrate. Please visit the Halton Environmental Network on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram for details on how you can participate this year. Still ahead, I'll speak with a local psychiatrist about the impact of social distancing and what it's having on society as well as families. Plus, we'll take a look at our local weather forecast and ways that you can keep healthy and fit while having fun and maintaining that social distance. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Halton News. This pandemic is impacting us all one way or another, and Dr. Bhattacharya, a local psychiatrist, has made some observations about the social distancing impact it's having on individuals as well as members of families. Let's take a look.
Yeah, well, I've been working virtually from home now for about 3 weeks since the crisis started. And that got me thinking, if I'm working from home, then that means a lot of other people are as well. And that got me thinking to families that are also working at home with their kids now at home as well. And what would be the impact on groups of people living in homes like where I live in Oakville or around Ontario? So what happened before the crisis is that we went from normal social integration, because we're a tribal creature, so we need each other to move along, to now this total social disruption where we have isolation and distancing. And for families at home, now we've gone to a different situation. The people are much, much, much closer. And the problem with that is that the triggers that normally cause people to get upset or to balance their emotions or to have patience and tolerance for each other, they're going to be stressed out much, much more because people are in so much proximity. So I always look at the family as like the building block of a community, and it's the smallest part of a community. And communities really, if you think about it, are just collections of families. So a colleague of mine in England was talking about this in the news recently. It's called social claustrophobia. And this is where people are too close. And what does that cause? And when people have a way out, maybe to go to their room or go for a walk or go out with their friends or go out for the evening, etc., a lot of that's really stunted right now because of what's happening in our culture. So all the emotions are amplified. So I think if we look at some of the news, we're seeing an increase in petty crime. We're seeing an increase in abuse at home, unfortunately child abuse at home. We're seeing theft is more common. It's kind of like society isn't watching as much as it might have. And that the story indoors is that people's emotions are running much higher. And so we're seeing more trouble with that as people are trying to balance this new situation. So I got a few ideas that might be helpful for some people. One, seeing this on TikTok, if you ever get on TikTok, is to exercise together or individually. Meditation and breathing is a really helpful way to take a breather, literally, and to calm down. People are playing family games now, so that instead of being stressed out together, they might want to play a game and have something like Scrabble or Monopoly. I'm showing my age here, but a game that can get them involved with each other. It's really important for people to give each other space and respect emotional boundaries and schedule time together, but also try and schedule time apart. Start a project. Grab out some old photo albums or something, or pick up that instrument that's been in the corner collecting dust. Maybe try to learn that. Read a book together. So one of my fun things I get couples to do is read a page each or read a chapter each. That way you have the sense of someone talking to you, just like being read a bedtime story as a kid, which we all remember and love. It's soothing. Try a new recipe, like cook something different. We're seeing a lot of people doing that on the internet. And maybe contact relatives as well, because a lot of those people who are isolated, maybe older, are not getting the same kind of involvement. And so the family can feel good about doing that. We have relatives in India, for example, that we're reaching out to. So it's really nice and heartwarming to do that. And that's a way just to amplify that sense of family fun.
And now let's take a look at our local weather forecast across the region. We'll take a look at what the next 5 days looks like. Sunny skies tomorrow after we saw some flurries in Burlington today. Cloudy skies on Thursday, and then looking closer into the weekend, we'll get back to those double digits by Saturday. 11 degrees as our high without a cloud in the sky. But by Sunday, we're once again looking at a 60% chance of rain showers. The pandemic continues to affect many stock sectors, with much of the economy having shut down or slowed. Oil prices have dropped again to historic lows as the demand for oil has decreased globally. Let's take a look at today's closing market numbers. Still ahead, free dance lessons in the comfort and safety of your own home. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us here on Halton News. If you're looking for more ideas on what to do to keep active while social distancing, a dance studio in Halton Hills is offering free lessons that you can do in the comfort of your own home. We reached out to Stephen Kabakis and Ashley Goddard-Kabakis of the Goddard Studio for Dance and Performing Arts, and they share with us the steps that you can take to get your groove on.
Oh. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8, step, clap. At the jump.
We do Facebook Lives right from our Goddard Studio Facebook page. That's how we've been reaching people. So every weekday we go live at 2 p.m. and we offer all different kinds of classes. So on Tuesdays, we have TikTok Tuesdays, which is a new one, which people are going to be requesting which TikToks they want to learn. Wednesdays, it started off as a boys hip hop class, and the feedback and the hype about it was amazing. So that's an awesome one. Thursdays, we have Kid Pop, which is geared more towards like the younger children. It's more follow along, it's just easier, just kind of get you moving. And then Friday, it's geared towards more of a family event. So we go through all kind of dance eras throughout the years. For those parents that are working from home and everyone being in the house, I think it's a real change for them to just have this outlet and just enjoy this. It's something different for those who haven't danced before. It's fun. That's what it's geared towards. That's what we're doing it for. We want to bring a little bit of fun into people's homes and just allow them to enjoy a different thing during the day if they want to.
And the best part about it, although we go at 2 p.m. Every day and on selected days, we start off at 11:30. You have an opportunity to play this back. You know, you can go back to the videos, watch it again. We've been doing this successfully now, and it's been incredible for the last week. Yeah. We're reaching people, of course, within the Halton Hills community, but we're also reaching people in the United States, England, across Canada, and so who would have thought that this was just? We're both performers, and right now with nothing nowhere to perform at, we figured that we have to bring the show to you, and that's. So we started off saying this is what we wanted to do.
We have 2 young children
as
well.
Yes.
And so we know what it's been like.
Yeah.
Luckily, we do have the studio that they can actually run around in to let off some energy. But we know what it is like to be stuck at home.
They're pent up.
It is. It really is. But even for little ones, our daughter's 3, and she loves music. She loves just to do whatever she wants to do to her move. She does hips, she does ballet, she does whatever she wants. And that's actually why we did this week. We're starting for next week on Monday at 11 o'clock. We're doing a little ones class. So mums that have little ones, send them, just put the TV on and just allow them to just explore the movement and the music.
Down. You did it.
We'll be back with another edition of Halton News tomorrow, Wednesday at 5:30. In the meantime, please visit us on social media. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Kading, and I thank you for watching.